There we go. I think I had my microphone muted. How's everybody doing? It is your man Frank Kern coming to you live at 6:34, I think. What's the day? The 9th of March? 6:34. 6 something. March 9th. I done wore myself out today. You ever have one of those days where you're like tired at the end of the day, but you don't feel like you've done anything? That's today. I don't really think I've done anything today, but I figure we'll get something done now. How about that? I just realized I still have the damn chat bot thingy running on Facebook. So if you comment on this thing, you'll get a little message from my chat bot and it'll like leave a reply to your comment. Sorry about that. I was testing some stuff out. I'm going to share that with you, the results of that in a minute, but I forgot to turn it off. It's working pretty good though. Okay, so what we want to do today is pick up where we left off yesterday. I'm going to switch to the computer, I think. Let's see. Yeah, it looks like it's working. Man, that's just amazing. All right. Cool, man. Check this out. I can show y'all on the screen. Hello, Amanda. See there? Blammo. Look at there. Like magic. All right. So yesterday, I was like ranting and raving like a grumpy person. Basically saying most of the advice you're getting is dumb. And I stand by that statement. I think it's a lot of the advice you're getting right now is profoundly stupid and based on complete lack of experience in the real world. So what I'm trying to do in this video series is debunk a lot of that stuff. And if you like what you're seeing here, and if you want to take a deeper dive, I got a free hour-ish long, I think it's a little bit longer than an hour, on-demand class at learnwithkern.com. It's not a webinar or anything. You just opt in and there's the class. Nothing fancy. I think you'll like it. Learnwithkern.com. But let's get to work, okay? So essentially what we were talking about yesterday, and regardless of when this discussion occurred, there are basically only 4 things that matter in terms of selling stuff online. And this doesn't matter what you're selling, by the way. Like, I don't care if it's a funeral home, a hair salon, a car dealership, consultants, courses, affiliate stuff. It doesn't matter. There's these 4 steps, basically. All right. Now, how you execute the 4 steps, they could be different, but it isn't going to distract from or to take away from the fact that there's only 4 steps. And so they are. Number 1, get attention. All right. Number 2, get a lead. Number 3, make an offer. Number 4, follow up. And in our last discussion, we talked about this concept of getting attention, and there's really 2 ways to do it. You got social media posts. See if I can make this zoom in a little bit for us. Look at that, man. Wow. This is cool. So there's 2 ways we can do it. Social media posts, stuff like that, and then ads and stuff. And when I say get attention, by the way, I mean get buyer intent. So that's really important. So in the event you were like taking notes on this, like under get attention, put down buyer intent. That's really important. Like, if we could get rich just by getting attention, we would all just go around doing unbelievably stupid stuff, and everyone would give us attention, But that's not what's going to pay. We want the attention of people who are more likely to want to buy your stuff. And so essentially what that means is you get the attention of the people who have the problems that you solve. Right? And so we talked about this concept of social media and from the free social media perspective and what type of content to make. And one of the things that I pointed out was this horrible advice you're getting, which is you should be working really, really hard to get followers. And the data I shared with you was stuff that was published by Hootsuite. I think it was Hootsuite anyway, that like, I think it's about 5% of your followers will actually see what you post. And the bigger your audience is, the smaller the percentage is. So Hootsuite said something like, if you have over 100,000 followers, it's something like 0.8% or 0.08% or something like that. So it's like nothing, so there's like followers don't mean anything. So how do you get attention from organic social media without wasting your time? And the answer is you want to get engagement. All right. And so engagement means that people actually like read the post, or if it's a video, they watch the video, or they make a comment, or they give a little like or an emoji on it, or they forward it to a friend, like they do something. And so here's the thing about engagement and why this is so important. Social media algorithms exist to ensure that the social media platform, meaning Facebook or Instagram or whatever, provides what's called a good user experience. All right. And so I'm going to try not to get too techie on this because it's boring. And so I'll make it less boring. So basically, what their whole mission is for you, the consumer, like the end user, to spend as much time on Facebook or Instagram as possible. All right. And the reason they want you to do that is because the longer you're on there, the more ads you will see. And that's how they get paid. So if you run ads on social media like Facebook or Instagram or whatever, you'll notice you're paying X amount of dollars per 1,000 times your ad is seen. All right. So the whole mission of social media's algorithm is to make sure people have a good user experience. Therefore, if your social media posts cause somebody to stay on the platform just a little bit longer by way of engagement, like reading your stuff or liking it or clicking on it or whatever, their algorithm is basically going to be like, and I'm, obviously giving you a redneck version of this, but the algorithm is going to be like, hey man, that dude Bob just read that article and he spent a little bit longer, or watched that video or read that post or whatever. He spent like 4 seconds longer on the platform today than normal. And he read it from that content provider, you. Maybe we should show some of that content to more people like Bob and see what happens. And essentially that's how you end up getting more people seeing your stuff regardless of how many followers you have. It's this engagement principle. So you can look it up if you want to for 2021 algorithm changes. But essentially the deal is now that they are going to show your stuff to people who either A, do follow you, but again, it's a very small percentage, or B, are very likely to like the type of stuff that you're making. So there are 2 types of posts that we talked about in our last discussion that really foster engagement. Number 1 is connection, and number 2 is how-to. And both of these provide value, and this is important because one of the myths we dispelled yesterday was that you gotta, basically take pictures of yourself in front of fancy cars or mansions or whatever. And the fact of the matter is that's not what causes people to pay attention to you and to want to do business with you. Instead, value is what causes them to want to do that. As a matter of fact, we referenced yesterday that the type of content to create isn't fancy content at all. It's not perfect content. It's authentic content. And we talked about the fact that there's this thing going on called influencer fatigue. A study by Ogilvy Agency came up with that term, as far as I know. Anyway, that's where I learned it. And we also talked about a Forbes article. It was essentially saying the public is no longer trusting influencers for a myriad of reasons, one of which is they know it's all kind of staged and fake. So we dispelled those myths that, you gotta get a zillion followers. You don't. You gotta make perfect looking posts and, be in front of the Eiffel Tower or whatever. You don't. I mean, unless you just happen to be by there, then that would be awesome. Right? Instead, the thing to do is to actually help people. And the 2 types of posts to do that are called connection posts, where you form an emotional bond with someone, and how-to posts. And that's really important, this how-to post concept, because the only things that your prospects are really thinking of in general all day long is, okay, what do I want and how do I get what I want? That's all they're thinking about. So if you talk to that, then they're going to pay attention to you, right? And so the second thing I wanted to talk to you about now and go into a little bit greater detail with is ads and stuff. So this is interesting, right? So there's a chatbot thingy on the Facebook post that this live stream is showing from. I forgot to turn it off. But have a look at the results of this thing. So I built this chatbot thingy yesterday, and so this kind of new data. This is what it's called right here, growth tool number 203. Let's see. Oh, I'm not sharing the screen with you. There we go. Sorry. All right. And, that's not where I need to go. Obviously don't know how to use my own tool set here. This is what I'm trying to show you. Okay, so I built this thing yesterday. All right. And this is on the topic of ads. All right. So this is mainly everyone who's commented since yesterday when I went live. And basically on any of my stuff. And you're going to get the same bot, by the way, if you comment on this. So, if you don't want to get it, then don't comment. It's not going to drive you nuts. But basically it was like, hey, what do you need help with? All right. And 47%, there were only 3 options. I need help with making ads work, or my website doesn't convert, or other. Right. And so 47% of the folks out there needed help with making their ads work. And I was like, well, I wonder why so many people need help with making their ads work. It's like a big deal. And incidentally, of the folks who said that, this is pretty interesting. The majority of them, the overwhelming majority of them where's my, I'm already on the screen. Okay. The overwhelming majority of these folks are actually advertising, which is pretty cool, so that's good, but that also kind of sucks in the sense that so many people are advertising, but it's clearly not giving them the results they want. So the question becomes why. All right, so let's go back over here to the old mind map thingy. Okay. Incidentally, if you like this, what we're talking about, and you want a better deep dive on this, go to learnwithkern.com. And there's an hour and something minute long class you can take there that really kind of goes through all 4 of these steps. We'll sort of deal with ads and stuff today and getting leads, all right? But so here's the deal with ads and stuff. The big myth that you're going to get, number one, is that you have to find like the perfect audience and the perfect avatar and stuff, and you really don't, okay? And the reason why is because Facebook, Instagram, they don't really know. So, like, logic would dictate, like, okay, if we want to sell stuff to dudes who like football or whatever, it's going to be, all right, it's going to be a guy who's between the age of 25 and 30, and they drink Budweiser, and they like football, and they live in Alabama or whatever, and that's our perfect customer avatar, which may be true, right? But the challenge is that when Facebook thinks that the dude is into football and drinks Budweiser and stuff, they might not be right, and oftentimes they're not. So when, we're setting up an ad in Facebook and we say, show this to everybody who likes football and Budweiser or something, our brain is saying, oh, this dude must have gone to Facebook and said, I like football and drinking cold squeezers, right? He didn't. Okay, so their algorithm is basically drawing the conclusion that that dude likes football and drinking cold squeezers and stuff because he has gone to websites about football and gone to websites about beer and maybe clicked on ads about football and beer. So they're not necessarily wrong, but it's not as targeted as we think. But what will happen, and I think that's one of the things that led to so many people saying they needed help with advertising, is what will happen is we'll be like, okay, we're going to put all of our eggs in one basket. So the first thing you want to do is you don't want to try to find the perfect audience. You want to test multiple, we'll put this in here, probablys. All right, is probably a word? I don't know, okay? And so here's the thing. All right, so if we can agree that like Facebook's algorithm and Instagram, Facebook, same thing, they don't really know for sure that when you say show this ad to people who like Budweiser and football, that person actually likes Budweiser and football, then it makes a lot of sense for us not to put all of our eggs in one basket and instead to be like, well, let's find a whole bunch of different audiences where our ideal customer probably is. So that's thing number one that you want to do. And I'll kind of give you an example of this in a minute. By the way, I'll show you behind the scenes of my account for the past week. The other thing that you want to do is you don't want to spend a lot of money on this stuff. So people will say, go big or go home or whatever. I really think it's an NLP priming move to get you to buy something. When it comes to ads, you always want to start small. You want to test really, really small. All right, so I'm going to put this here as well. So you want to start small. So when I deal with people who need help with ads, all right, and it's not working, generally what has happened is they've gone out and they have tried to find the perfect target audience, and they've created one ad, and they've run it to that perfect target audience, and it didn't work right. And they put all their hope in that, and they burned up their ad budget, and that totally sucks. So let me show you the antidote to that. The antidote to that is really, really simple. You take a bunch of different target audiences, let's say 10 of them, and you spend about between $2 to $5 per day on each one of those, and you show them all the same ad. And you let that run for about 3 days. And some of the audiences are going to be awesome. And some of them are going to be totally terrible. But you don't care because you've only spent $2 to $3 a day for about 3 days on them in total. So it saves your capital, and it allows you to be like, oh, okay, these are the ones that worked. All right, and I'll give you an example of it in a minute. But before I do, we'll get to the last thing we'll talk about today, which is leads. All right, and again, if you want a deeper dive on this, just go to learnwithkern.com. There's a hour and something minute class there. It's not a webinar or anything. It's an on-demand class. It'll just play after you opt in and stuff. And of course, I'll email you 750 million times to buy my stuff, which you should immediately, of course. Buy it multiple times. I got a lot of kids. All right, so here's the other thing. Is like, we understand, number one, we got to get attention to people who are interested in the solution you can provide, right? So that's thing number one, okay? So that's this, get attention. We do it in two ways, and I won't leave you hanging here, I promise. Next thing we got to do is we got to get a lead. We got to get someone to basically raise their hand and say, yeah, man, I'm interested in your solution. You know, so it's like not rocket surgery. You know what I mean? They're either like opting in for something, or they're scheduling an appointment with you, or they're calling your office. It depends on your business, right? But either way, you got to get someone to express interest, aka become a lead. The fourth step here is to make an offer. Let's make your pitch, and the fifth step is to follow up. So let's focus here on leads for a minute. The deal is with leads, one of the myths you'll get is that your page has to be fancy, right? You gotta look professional in your lead capture pages, all right? And so that's the myth. So let me, if I can get all of my stuff here together for you. What am I trying to do? Oh, there we go. Okay, go back to the camera. I got all these buttons, man, they confuse me. Okay, I want to show you first, all right, some stats. So I got to get this browser off of my screen here, all right? And now I'm going to pull this over, and let's see if this will work for us. Okay, so I'm going to show you some stats here, all right? It's going to be in the middle of the screen. There we go. So this, what you're looking at right here, I just took a screenshot of this. As you can see, I took it today, the 9th of March. That's when we're filming this, or whatever. I'm live right now at 6:51 Pacific time. So I'm split testing two different registration pages for Learn with Kern. All right, one of them's 28% opt-in. The other one's 41.72% opt-in. All right, so now what I want to do is show you the one that is winning. And this is totally counterintuitive, and it goes against most of this profoundly bad advice you're getting, which is you need to make your stuff look professional, okay? So incidentally, I wish that like looking professional was good. So this is the one that's winning, okay, right here. You know, I've lost my monitor. There we go. Okay, got to make sure I'm on the right thing. This is the one that's winning right here, this dumb one, okay? So this literally just like how to get more customers by doing the exact opposite of what experts say. Show me how. It is a headline and a button, all right? It's pretty damn unprofessional looking. You know, it's not, it's not horrible, but it's not fancy. Now, the one that did not win is one where I modeled a Zoom registration page. And man, I got to tell you, I've tried to beat this control here, you know, this non-fancy version one over here on the right, a gazillion times. And every time I always end up, this one works. So the first thing you got to understand, when it comes to generating the leads, do not be fancy, right? So not professional, or at least not fancy, right? Like, test it. When you go to try to get leads from your website, instead of trying to like tell them, here are 20 things you're going to get or whatever, just have a headline and a button and see what happens. I have yet to be able to beat it. I don't know why, you know, but whatever. I'm not going to argue with it. It's a pretty fast and easy page to build, you know, so that's thing number one. Thing number two is folks like to tell you that it's really hard and expensive to get leads. It is not, all right? So don't spend, and this is going to tie into a lot. This is going to tie into, oh, I'm not on the screen here, sorry. There we go. This is going to tie into the stuff we were talking about with your ads and stuff. All right. So you should not ever really be spending a lot of money on leads unless it's, you know, we're counting a lead as somebody who actually books a, dude, I got to share this comment with y'all. This is hysterical. Look at this username, and it's got Vladimir Putin on there. That's hysterical. Okay. Got distracted, but that's funny. All right. So anyway, what you want to do is you don't want to spend a lot of money. Then let me just give you like behind the scenes. I was totally thrown off by how hilarious that was, incidentally. All right, so this is my Facebook ads account. So this is from yesterday until the 3rd, or rather from the 3rd until yesterday. I'm not going to include today's stats because Facebook's algorithm takes a little while to catch up, and they're not going to be accurate. So here's what I want to share with you. Okay, this is a campaign. Obviously, you can see the date range here, 3rd through the 8th. All right, and what I want to show you, if it'll like work for us here, what am I looking for? Oh, is the cost per lead. Now, these are ad sets I just turned on today. All right, so this one, $1.30 per opt-in, $1.34, $1.38, $1.63, $1.79. Dude, you don't have to spend a lot of money on leads. You shouldn't. Now, if we go into this account, by the way, right, all these are different audiences, okay, where I'm not spending a lot of money. All right, I'm just spending tiny little bits of money. I almost sound like, dude, I sound like that guy from the infomercial. Tiny little classified ads. That's not what I mean. But I'm just spending a little bit of money per audience, right? So each one of these is just different audiences. And I'm like, dude, I don't know. Maybe it'll work. Maybe it won't. And I just don't spend a lot of money on it. So as you can see, I've spent like some of them took off and worked really, really well. But most of them over the course of this amount of time here, I've only spent a couple of $100. So if you do the math, whatever that is, 5 days, I'm like, $20 or something per day. We all know that math is not an exact science. You know what I mean? But check this out. That strategy, incidentally, I spent $3,600 in total. All right, I've already gotten back like $8,000. It looks like here, in sales, which is fine. But most importantly, actually, that's most important. But if you look at the amount of leads, of course, Facebook's not going to give me my total amount of leads because they're being peckerheads. But, it's probably about 2,000 or something if we were to add all that up. Now, if we look at today's numbers, by the way, and this is why I don't show you today, it'll give us weird things like 1 click and 2 leads. And that's just because it takes a while for Facebook's algorithm to, show the stats correctly or whatever. So that's the deal on lead gen. You should not be spending a lot of money on this if you use that methodology that I just shared with you. And so the big picture is for all of this is within the world of ads, because the chatbot thingy, y'all said you needed help with ads the most, is number one, don't try to find a perfect audience. I know it's appealing to be like, okay, man, this is like all these targeting options, we can find the perfect person. It just doesn't work that way. Try to find a bunch of them where you think it's going to be the perfect audience, but just spend a little bit of money in each one and understand that most of them aren't going to be any good, which is why you have point number 2, which is to start really small. Don't spend a lot of money on this stuff, like test it first, because if it doesn't work, which would you rather do? Like spend $500 and see that it doesn't work, or spend $10 and see that it didn't work? Obviously, you'd rather spend $10, And thing number 3 is, if you're trying to generate leads, don't bother trying to build some beautiful, fancy landing page. It's got 1 million pictures and it's graphically gorgeous. This stupid thing, again, like I'll show you a screenshot if you're just joining me. This one, which is just awful looking. Wait, here it is. This one is the winner, right? I'm still sending traffic here. Oh, forgot to share the screen with you. Sorry. I'm still sending traffic to this one that's not winning, for the sole purpose of I could just demonstrate that it exists and it's not converting. But this one, look, here are the stats, right? So that ugly one is 41% opt-in rate, and the pretty one is 28%. Like, which would you rather have? 41% conversion or 28%? Like, obviously 41, right? So anyway, I hope you all found this helpful. When we come back, which will be tomorrow or the day after or whenever I feel like it, we'll talk about making your offer and following up. But to put all of this sort of into context, what I'm trying to help you do is understand it does not matter what type of business you got. I've been doing this for 22 years, which is like 8 billion years in the internet. There's 4 steps, is it. You get attention from your marketplace, not dumb attention, like buyer intent attention. You get the attention of people who have a problem you can solve, hopefully in a positive way. You help them out. You get a lead. That's step 2. You get them to raise their hand and opt in or call you or book an appointment or whatever. Step 3 is you make your pitch. Right? And, we'll talk about this in our next go-around here. Or if you just want to go to learnwithkern.com, you can get a much better, well-thought-out presentation of what I'm sharing with you right now, because I took a good while to record it as opposed to doing it off the cuff live for you. But when it comes to making your pitch, you don't really want to try, well, I mean, if you can get it perfect, then go ahead. It's extremely difficult to craft like an awesome pitch that's going to have a super high conversion rate. And even if you do craft an awesome pitch, you're really not, like most people who see it, they're not going to buy your stuff immediately. It's normal. It's just human nature. You know, it has nothing to do with you. So like you could spend hours and hours and hours trying to like get your pitch perfect, whether it's a sales letter or video or webinar or whatever. And still, you know, if you had 1,000 people see it, the majority of those 1,000 people would not buy. And so if we know this to be true and we can kind of accept that to be true, then it really makes sense not to, you know, drive yourself nuts and just do one that's pretty good and see what happens. But really the final step, which is follow up, that's where most people really drop the ball. And that's where, in my opinion and in my personal experience, that's where the most money is. It's a very unsexy thing to try to sell, by the way, because nobody really wants to do it. They're like, no, show me the new thing so I can get more likes or whatever. But I would prefer you get more money, really. So that fourth step is a big one, and we'll talk about that later. So again, to summarize, only 4 steps. Get attention, get a lead, make an offer, follow up, period. Doesn't matter what you sell. If you want a deeper dive on all this stuff, go to Learn with Kern. Almost forgot my last name there. It's on demand, costs you $0. But if you don't act before the deadline, the cost will double. See there? It's a math joke because 0 times 2 is still 0, huh? How about that? Pretty funny. Okay, it's time to get a little dinner. I think chill out a little bit, watch some TV. I'm out of shows to watch. I think I watched all of Netflix during Corona, so we'll try to see something. Maybe I'll rewatch something, you know, who knows. Okay, thank you all for watching. I sure do appreciate it. I'm going to try to figure out how to turn this damn thing off. There we go. Okay, hit the finish button.